Welcome. Welcome to No Right, No Wrong. My name is CT and I'm excited. I'm excited. I have a special guest in the house. You guys want to meet him? Okay, let's introduce him. His Gift is in the house. Gifto.
Yeah.
Welcome. Okay, let's get it started. You want to introduce yourself to the people?
Yeah. Hi. My name is Gift. I'm a Nigerian, as you can know from my accent. So somehow, once in a while, I can be like speaking PG. So I hope you don't mind.
No, I don't mind at all. We gotta get back to the roots, right?
Yeah. So,
welcome. How you want to introduce yourself to the people, what you do and stuff like that? Because today will be more about you.
Yeah. Okay. I work at IBM as a software developer. I've lived in Canada for 13 years now. I have a family, a wife, and a lovely son who is 1 year old now. So I'm living the Canadian dream.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. No, that's great. And I've also known you for a minute, even before coming to Canada here. This is my senior, as we say.
Yeah. Man, me and this guy, life have gone way back. Like, we've known each other for 15 years, way back to high school, which is secondary school.
I would say that is 2006.
2006? No, you started your high school, like secondary school, mostly senior secondary, 2005?
Probably 2005. Yeah, so around
I started 2004.
Yeah.
So just a 1 year gap. So I was his senior in high school. So
and my punctuality prefect.
Yeah.
I would say that didn't work out great, but
this is very funny because I am punctuality prefect, but this guy comes late. And funny enough, he lived literally in the school campus, so he can literally throw a stone and hit at his place. But this guy comes, I won't say too late, but you could see him coming in after the bell rang. So I still wondering what he does before coming that late.
You know what is interesting? Just because you know that the school is there, I kind of almost wait for the bell to ring.
Oh, I see.
So when the bell rings, you're like, okay, now let's start coming in.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing.
No, it's kind of interesting because we know that we have these guys, these school
and it
owners.
Was a group of people.
Yeah, they're a group of students that their parents actually work in the campus, so they know like they actually live in the campus because of their parents. Then whenever like the bell rang for the start of assembly, that's when you see them walking down slowly. And with that respect of their parents and all those stuff, you won't do them much, right? Just let them go in because they're already in the campus, so they're already in school technically. But it's so funny. I still remember it today. That's pretty much like I can kind of say much that I know about this guy and his friends.
Oh yeah, it was interesting because there was a whole group on campus there going into senior secondary. For some reason, some people kind of went early to school, but most people found themselves still late a lot of times.
To
school. Not super late. You just hear the bell and you get to class and all that. But we've come a long way, and that's why I have you here. And interesting enough, I want to start and kind of take a look at your journey, and then I impute.
Yeah, my journey is a success story, and it has gone a long ride. Honestly, my background, I didn't come from a rich family, but I made it here to Canada. So it's a very interesting story to tell. So I would like to share it with you guys because like there's lessons from this story of mine. And, because I just want to share it with people who are going through the same, people who are in Nigeria wondering how am I going to make it or how am I going to go away from this situation I am, right? Yeah. So it's one of those things that I experienced, but look at me here right now. So I think I don't know where do you want me to start?
No, that's the thing. We got to start somewhere, right? Because there are a lot of things that I want you to talk about that you implement, right? Right from when I've known you, I already talked about you being a punctuality prefect, which means that right from high school and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You took timeliness and punctuality very serious, right? So those are kind of like the qualities I want to talk about. But let's start from your story. Let's start from the beginning, and hopefully people in Nigeria that listen to this, they know you.
Yeah. I mean, the guys that went to NDSS Port Harcourt, they probably know me. Set up 2007, the best graduating student then. So I'll talk more about my punctuality prefect position, because I know I'm pretty sure that they selected me because of how punctual I was.
Let's talk about the reasons why you were punctual.
Yeah, okay. I actually live like in Port Harcourt. I live in Mile 2, so which is very far from Rumola where the school is. So literally, if you're going with a bike ride, that would take you like 20 to 30 minutes if you didn't take shortcut. But
when you say bike, you mean like a bicycle or a motorbike?
No, like motorcycle.
Like a motorbike, okay.
Yeah, motorbike. Yeah. So yeah, but for me, like those motorcycle, they are very expensive. So I usually take public transport. And meanwhile, taking that public transport is just halfway, right? So I take from my tray to Mokuta, then I have to walk down. But before going to my tray from my 2, I have to walk to my tray. So I do a lot of walking. So half walking, half transport to be able to catch up. Guess what? I start 6 o'clock to make it to school.
That is the interesting part. Like you leave home by 6 o'clock.
6 a.m. in the morning. I usually wake up around 5.
Oh, okay.
Prepare, eat breakfast. And that's the only breakfast I eat because like I don't even have lunch. I can't even prepare lunch. There's no money to prepare lunch. I remember my dad used to give me 20 naira for transportation going and coming. There is no lunch included. And 20 naira then can't even make it from my 2 to Rumola where the school is. Honestly, he assumed that you have to make it halfway. You take public transport. Then public transport used to be $10, 10 naira, 15. So if you're converting that in Canadian dollar, it's pretty much like literally nothing now these days. But then
it was a lot of money too, considering that Nigerian currency has probably been devalued a lot since when we're talking about.
Yeah. So it's interesting how I made that journey and waking up early. It takes me going to school. You can imagine going to school. It takes me almost an hour, 30 minutes to get to school.
You said you were living where? My 2.
My 2. Because
if you just had a regular car drive, how long do you think that would take?
If you're considering traffic,
but that's early in the morning, so 6, 7.
Early in the morning, it should be equivalent to a motorcycle too, right? So it should be roughly 30 minutes drive. 30
minutes drive all the way?
All the way, yeah, I think so, right?
Can you explain my 2 to me? I know where my 3 is.
Yeah, so see this guy, this guy is a rich kid, man. Like,
no, that's not accurate. But go ahead.
I know, 2 right, 2 wrong. So I never know which one is correct. But for him to ask me where my 2 is, you can imagine. Well,
I know my 3. I know Dio.
For Dio, my 2 is in between my 1 and my 3, just by the name, right?
In between my 1 and my 3. So if you pass my 3 and you're going down, before you get to
like, close to Azikwe. I don't want to name the street. But for those that know me, will know my street. Okay. I had to bring my classmate to where I live because of where I live, 1 bedroom with 3 people, including my parents. We are almost 5 people living 1 bedroom. So it's kind of a shame to bring friends over or invite people to come and see where you live. It's one of those things that you have to go through while you're in school, mostly secondary school as a kid, right? Those are the peer pressure like you have when your friends are being dropped by Mercedes, Camry and all this stuff. Corolla.
We'll get back to it because first of all, we need to explain what NDSS is to people, right?
Yeah.
Because before we get there, because I think that's also important because NDSS is kind of like a strictly science school.
Yep.
And it only starts from senior secondary, which will be the equivalent of high school in Canada.
Yeah.
So basically, how it works is you're getting the best kids from or different middle schools or junior secondaries most times to apply and get into the school and stuff like that.
Yeah. You're 100% right. So basically, just like what you say, right? So it's like top student from different middle school, which is junior secondary, coming in to do science, so they come to that school. So it's more like it's expensive. I won't tell you lie, because
it was pretty expensive.
It's very, very expensive. I can tell you from my father's bank account. But there's a story why I came to that school. Not that my dad was able to afford it, but that was the story behind it, which I'll tell you from beginning. I'm just kind of explain how I got my punctuality prefect. So I do come to school early, So my teachers probably noticed that, and there's some situations that made me to even come earlier than leaving home 6:00. Sometimes I leave I remember there were times where I left to school around 5, honestly, and those are the time of school fees drive. So school fees drive is those time where there will be a time mostly closer to exam period where they drive or they kind of send students away that haven't paid school fees. So honestly, I'm one of those that doesn't pay on time or doesn't even pay the exam period, because my dad struggled to even get my school fees. My school fees then was almost equivalent to my dad's salary, my father's salary. So for me to be able to still maintain coming into class, so I have to leave 4:00, arrive to school before the security guy will open the gate. Then I will skip and jump into the school campus, just skip the fence, then go inside one of the classroom, hide myself till the gate man will open up the gate. The security man will open up the gate. So then we'll start coming in. That's when I'll let myself out. Yeah. So I do that during the school
term.
Drive.
You can't get earlier on campus or inside school than that.
Yeah.
And so I remember hearing this story and it was wild because you were trying to get into school during school fees drives, like go home and get your parents to pay your fees.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there were some students that would have already paid their fees, but would not come.
They will not even. They have paid, but they will rather pretend that they are among those students they are chasing away. They will go to video halls to play. To play video games. Yeah, but so that is the thing. I was determined not only because of the money they spend on me, I was determined to learn, right?
Oh yeah.
Because there's a lot of competition in that school. So those are the factors, like if I miss classes, it will definitely affect me, so I needed to do everything to even help my dad. So that's why I go so early. I went to school so early to make sure I get in before they start the school fees drive, because they start at the gate, right? So, but when you're in, they don't check because there's so many students inside. So yeah.
So you're ready.
Yeah. No, I believe those are one of the abilities that I have that qualify me to be a punctuality prefect.
Guys, if you want to be a punctuality prefect, maybe you should be getting into school before everybody else comes in.
Mine was under circumstances though. So if you're in those kind of circumstances, you can do anything, right, to help yourself. Mostly when you have that determination to learn too, right? It helps. Not everyone will do such things, but those are the trick that if you want to help yourself, you can always find loophole in everything to get life going.
I never knew this was a thing, and I was even on campus, and even when I might have this whole situation with school fees and all that, right? I didn't even know it was possible to climb a fence. But no, it's an interesting story. But other than that, too, it still says the determination you had to make sure you were in class. Because as I said earlier, right, there were still students that might have paid their fees, but they're not interested in learning, right? There are lots of stories that has happened even with school fees drives and teachers, Olori's car.
Yeah. Oh man,
But
school days was
no, but
they were very interesting
no, it
school
was very
days.
interesting
Yeah.
things. I'm gonna go back a little bit. Let's go back a little bit
Yes. So
into the journey. Before you came to NDSS, because as I said, right, it's a school that you come in your senior secondary or high school.
Yeah.
How did you get in? Like, what were the things you were already doing to prepare yourself? Because outside of the fact that you were punctuality prefect, you were also very good academically, right?
Yeah.
So how did you get to that point, get enrolled and stuff like that?
Yeah, so that means I have to start from beginning of my life where I can remember. My life started from the village with my twin brother. So my dad work in Port Harcourt, which is in the city. So he comes in weekend to see the kids. So one certain time he came back, then he noticed that we don't have school bags, but we showed him a report card, which is school report card showing result. And me and my twin brother took first position. So I took first because in Nigeria they can allow you to have like two people having the same position in class, right?
Yeah,
so,
I will just cut you off. And when you hear him talk about his twin brother, he means like identical twin brother.
yeah.
I will get to that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so my twin brother promised, and if you're listening, I greet. Yeah, so I was saying, so my dad noticed that we had a good grade, but we don't have school bags. So we can't even show him our notebooks. Then he was like, how do you even make it? So he noticed that there's something was off, right? There's no way someone have that kind of like result top of the class, but he don't have anything like note or anything school bag to show that he went to school, right?
Yeah.
Then when you start asking us questions, we can't even give him any answer. He asks us school class questions, like all those multiplication, math questions. We can't even give him an answer because we don't know it. So village school wasn't as right? So they don't learn as much. Yeah. So at the end of the day, they take you to farm, you farm. Then at the end of the day, they grade it according to your parents or how much you put in terms of agriculture and all those stuff. Or if you're like, if they have student that's consistent, doing well, they just want to give you grade like that. Good grades, yeah. My dad knew. By then we were in class 5 going to class 6. 5? So primary 5 going to primary 6. So he was like, no, these guys don't know anything. I have to take you both of you to the city. We went to the city, and guess what? To get into one of the city's school, we have to write an entrance exam, and we did. Promise has 0 that he could remember if he's watching. 0 out of 100, and I have 1 out of 100. And we have to enter primary 5. The principal of that, the head master of that school was like, there's no way these two idiots will enter primary 5. They have to go to primary 1. They were serious about that. And by then, we were probably like 10 or going to 11. And primary 1 is like kids that are like 5 years old. So my dad pleaded, was like, you can't send these grown-ups to kids. So like, it was like, what if we meet in between? So if they consider primary 3, we should start from primary 3. So we started primary 3 in the city. But guess what? First time, both of us, me and my brother, we failed. Like, we didn't pass the cutoff point
for primary 3 at this
primary
stage,
3. Yeah, primary 3 first, because they used to have 3 terms. So the first time we didn't pass. Then my dad knew that these boys don't know much. Then that's why up to now, giving the praise where I am now is one of those people that I respect, and I kind of feel like they impacted my life, because he reads situation, he understands like when things are not right, and he wants something for us. He wants us to be a better person, right? So unlike so that no, I don't know if every parents do this, but some parents don't really bother much, probably if they are not more interested or looking into their kids, so they might not pay too much attention. But my dad paid attention. Like, whenever we come back school, he kind of go through our note and ask us questions, right? So when he noticed that we failed the first time, he has to get extra tutor. So now, usually the school starts school start around 8:30. Like the primary school start 8:30. It goes to 2 o'clock. They have extra classes. Classes go to 4 p.m. Then after that, my dad has a tutor that will go to the tutor's house from 4 to 7, sometimes 6.
No,
for
you
2
said your
hours.
dad has a tutor that goes to another tutor.
No, so my dad paid a tutor to give us after school program. So after 4 o'clock. Yeah. But in that school, they used to have extra lesson, which is between 2 to 4, compulsory for every person in that, every student in the primary school there, right? But after that, we still have to go extra. So that one is outside the school, right? So my dad hired a tutor to give us like extra lesson. Yeah, after school.
And that really did help a lot.
Oh, it did, because like the entire day is all about study. From 8:30 that you start your day till 6 p.m. You're learning. Mm-hmm. Weekend we start 9 o'clock. We go to the same tutor 9 o'clock till 4, Saturday, Sunday.
This tutor, how many students were they on this program with? Was it a more personalized?
It's okay. The tutor is one of the teachers in the school.
In the school.
So yeah, so she is a lady. So she kind of like have like a spare room in her apartment where she kind of like, and we are only me and my twin brother.
So it was just two of us. Right? So it was really like being focused on your learning. That really helped.
Yeah. And if the tutor is not available, the house help always help too.
And the house help knew enough information to teach you guys.
Yeah, which is very impressive, because I respect that tutor too, because she's good. She teaches the house help too, and the house help impart the knowledge to the others. So it was interesting. So going through that program, going extra lesson, second term of that primary 3, me and my brother, we passed. We came down to 12th position all the way. Last time was 46. I had 46 out of like 51 or so. But after that, went to 12. I can remember all these numbers because those are the change when my life changed to better, right? So those transition phase is hard to forget. When you move from
one stage
to another, so it's always stuck in your head. That's where my life changed, right? So then from there, then the last term of that primary, we finished. My brother probably finished around 4th, and I finished 8th or so. But we were getting closer to the top of the class from there, right? So we moved on to primary 4, and we started doing well, right? So like we are like among the top 3, and eventually here's the thing. My dad is always, he likes us to have competition among ourselves. He said whoever get the first position, that he's gonna get the person a bicycle, which is DMS bicycle.
That's a big deal, guys.
Oh, that was DMS. Oh man,
that was a big deal. Getting a bike.
Yeah,
a bicycle actually.
Yeah. So and eventually I'll give it to my twin brother. He won me on that. So he was the
promise
first
1.
Yeah,
gift 0.
Yeah, which he promise had. He was the first guy among me and him that came first position, top of the class. Then I came second, and that was in primary 5, which was the last level for that primary school before we move on to middle school. So towards that primary 5, we are like first, second. That's how we ended the primary school term. So now we became like from not knowing anything, from failing entrance exam to being top of the class. So guys, this story is very inspiring, because like I always tell people, like, if you're determined, not only parents, sometimes parents can push a child to learn, but it's left for the child to learn too. So you can't send horse.
They can take the horse to the stream,
and the horse can't even drink. So you have to be patient. So you have to be determined as a student too, right? If you want to learn. So me and my twin brother, plus the competition we have among ourselves, but we are actually determined to learn. My parents kind of like was very helpful to provide us all the avenue to succeed. Taking us from the village school to city school is a big progress. Then one funny thing, that's where one thing about life, you move one step forward, one step backward. So moving to middle school, my dad gave us chance, like, choose wherever middle school you want to go. Promise say he will go to FGC, which is one of the federal government schools in Port Harcourt. Very good, top school.
The thing is, FGC is kind of like the school everybody wants to go to, because even me, like, everybody writes the test
it's one of
to go to FGC.
It was one of the best schools that everyone go to that school. Well, but guess what? For me, I said no. I'm going to village school. I'm going back to my village. I have no reason for that. I was like, no, I miss my village. I'm going back to the village.
Did you write the test at all? Because there used to be this general test that you write for FGC. For me,
no,
I got assigned to like Bayelsa, and they were like, I know what going to Bayelsa to go study, right? But you didn't even write the test at all.
No, I was like, no, I'm not doing anything in the city. I'm going back to village school. I'm going to one of my secondary school in the village, no city. I miss my village, and my dad was the only one in the city. We stayed with my dad. My mom is at home. My other siblings were in the village, at home in the village. So I was like, no, I'm going to hang out with my people I know, So I went. That was a big step backward, because when I went back to that school, a secondary school, wasn't the primary school, just the secondary school. I was top of the class.
You have come from the city.
I was so relaxed, and funny enough, I don't even spend time studying. I know at the end of the term, whose name that will be on the board at first position.
It's
gonna be me.
Easy work.
So I did that. The middle school first, like JS1, JS2, JS3. There's one guy. Valentine, that's the guy's name. Valentine came from the city to that secondary school. I don't know why he found his way to that place. So he came.
Maybe Valentine chose not to go to FGC.
I don't know, man. He came. So the test, then he was just getting all. People started, rumors start going around like this guy is gonna beat gift. When I came on board, the people start telling me, this guy, be careful with this guy. All his tests, he has been getting 100%. I said, don't worry, exam, I'll clean him, So first time of that JS3, guess who came first? Valentine. I came second. Then, I was so mad. Then I came back second time. Guess the guy left the school. He said, there's no one smart in the school. The guy literally said there was no one smart in this school.
There's no competition for him.
There's no, everyone here is dumbass, and he left. I was like, guy. Then I started making inquiry. Which school this guy went? Because I want to make sure I beat him. Because I was so embarrassed, not only because of no, it's because I'm sorry. I know it's funny, but yeah, it's one of the interesting.
You gotta challenge yourself.
So I have to challenge myself. I have to prove him that I'm actually smarter than him, right? So I make inquiry, and they say he went to NDSS. That is the school that
Niger Delta Science School.
Yeah, Umpadek, formerly. Yeah. So he moved on to that school. That's how I start making my journey to that school. I make inquiry. I asked my dad. My dad said, okay, you're going to make inquiry how to get me into this school. But when he noticed about the school fees was bigger than his salary, he was like, when he came, he was so quiet, knowing about the school fees. Then I remember him walking through, just back and front, pacing around. Then he hit his head on the wall. Then what came out from his mouth was, my son must go to that school. Because what happened is I explained why I want to go to that school. That someone came and took my position and said that there was no competition. There's no competition. So he knows that. And that is one thing. I give him plus for that. Like everything that he give us all the avenue to succeed. He knows like this guy going to that school will prove. I have to prove myself. I have to be a better person. Because Umpadek is definitely one of the best schools in Port Harcourt City because of how how they gather the
The
good students from different aspects,
the thing is
areas of
only for science students,
Only
because
for
it doesn't
science
give you an option to be an art student if you want to be a lawyer or something like
it's
that.
mostly for
But
people who
only
want
for
to be
science
engineering,
students.
doctors,
STEM basically.
yeah, exactly, right? So that's then he went ahead. I believe he borrowed or something, or he dig into his savings. I got into Umpadec. So my first year that's my SS1. That's when I realized that there were bigger fish than the
All
fish I
around.
was chasing. So when I came in there, man, I saw stubborn guys, stubborn girls. Man, that's when I knew that girls are smart, you know. So sometimes people underrate ladies, but trust me, ladies are smart. Oh man, that's where I started knowing that, man, what I wasted my 3 years, you know, in the village, you know, just relaxing. Then these are the real deals. These are the real business, man. So funny enough, just to make the story short on that, first term of that SS1, I came first position, and Valentine came 42. So I didn't only beat him, I beat everyone, and I showed him that he doesn't understand.
So he's a man working without motivation.
Yeah. So my chase is not about him now. My chase is about the guys, the
other big fishes
the other big fishes, and that was the last time I took first position. FYI.
You know, that's very interesting that you were so motivated and you came and you wiped the whole thing, and you were like, maybe you were also thinking, I thought this was competition.
No. Like, wow, I feel like I put in all the energy, a lot of energy to prove myself, to even, you know, not only beating Valentine in position, but, you know, to show the other students that came from different schools that someone from the village school can actually do better, right? I know my thing. I studied. I you know, when you spend time studying, then you can actually,
you're sure about what you're doing.
Prove yourself, because of what you study is what they're gonna ask you, and that's what you're gonna get. So then I came across meeting fine ladies, smart ladies, Choma Chuku, Ogechuobo.
Let's give them all shout outs.
Onyana, even the guys, Emmanuel, Idu Emmanuel, you know, man, like smart kids, man. Like, so it became a big thing. I tried. I give you that. I tried. There was points where I came second position in a term, second, third, like that, but I never made it to first. It's either Choma Chuku is getting the first position. Yeah, so it was like that. But one funny thing about NDSS, what is the biggest prize is coming out
the best
graduating students.
Yeah.
So that means you have to be the best in your WAEC. WAEC is just the
West African
exams that you use to get into a tertiary institution like university. Yeah, so that's the biggest one. So going through getting all those first positions in between terms, it doesn't really count. What counts is that one, because I think they make it where they can put your name on the board or
because
something like that.
All
right?
the term results, there's no way to kind of know for sure. But that one, everybody knows it. You're giving an award for it. So, who was the head girl in your set?
It was Choma Chuku was head girl.
So that means, because the way that thing normally works, they also use those STEM things to award those prefects sometimes on how good you're doing. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. They use that. I think prefect positions are mostly given to this smart kids, the top kids in school. Right? So that had,
unless it was assembly prefect. Then we look for the pastor. Whoever is the pastor, we give to that one. Yeah.
So interesting. So getting to that, I know the biggest prize was that. So how can I? So this is interesting for those stay in secondary school, working through yourself to get to what you want to get. So I was chasing that goal of becoming the best graduating student. So so the most important thing was the best graduating student So every student wants to be one of the best, like want to be the best graduate student. So that was a big prize.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I have to work extra. I know that even though the girls and the boys there, they were so smart, and I wasn't the first. I wasn't getting the first position in class, but I know that the main prize, that's what everybody looking for.
And I'm guessing the best graduate student is the best student in WAEC, right?
Yeah, the best student in WAEC.
The West African exams.
Yeah. So, and that was the biggest prize. Apart, I think they give you award, and I think they put your name.
They put your name on
the assembly hall. So that means that your legacy remain forever
in the school.
The school, right? So that is the biggest thing. That's what everyone want to achieve. So for me to get to that, I have to put extra work, right? So what I did, because I returned to home very late, because I have to walk most of my way home. So I usually come back home around 6 p.m., sometimes 7, depending on how I work, if I didn't use public transport. Then after that, I have to prepare food for my brother and my dad, because I was staying with my brother. I'm one of my cousins with my dad and my uncle. So we are like 4 or 5 in one bedroom. I mean, it's kind of interesting life. Yeah. Anyways.
So people still live that life. It's crazy, but
people do live that life till now. We are like 5 people living in one small bedroom. Yeah. And then I think in that kind of setting, it's like one bedroom, you face your neighbor across. So then your kitchen is in just right beside your bedroom. It's kind of, it's a tough life. It's a thing. It's a thing. But yeah, I live in such environment. But yeah, someone living in that environment is challenging, because you won't be able to read inside. You have to step outside. So you need to read outside.
Oh, so the interesting thing is, because there's so many people in the house.
In the house, yeah. Well, my cousin, we slap her out of you. We're like, come on, turn off the heat, because it will be so hot. We use lantern, like you burn kerosene lantern. Yeah. So it's super hot, right? Inside, if you use it. So you have to use it outside. So yeah, and I did all that. 9 o'clock, I step outside with my kerosene lantern, study till 12:01, then go to sleep. 5 o'clock, I'm awake preparing for school. That was a routine in my SS2, SS1, SS2, SS3. That was what I did. Weekend, I give myself enough sleep, right? So I was just like my body size was so tiny, because I haven't had enough sleep, enough food. But yeah, all those things build me up. So
this was the whole setup, right, for you to prepare for the exams.
Yeah. Itself. So just to let you know, there's for you to achieve your goal, mostly in Nigeria.
I think anywhere in the world.
Yeah, anywhere in the world, but
because you're competing against people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but
most often than not, for positions or for what you want. Right? Yeah. So you better outwork them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's general.
It's a general thing, yeah.
But
but especially in Nigeria.
But especially in Nigeria, the only why I put that emphasis that in Nigeria, you don't have the resources. Just like what I'm saying, right? Stay in one bedroom, reading with no electricity. You're reading under lantern. Those are the things. Those are the things that you don't have conditions. You don't have conducive environment to learn or study, right? So that's why I always say in the third world countries, it's harder.
Yeah,
it's harder to get to where you want to go, because of there's limited resources. So yeah, it was really tough life. Trust me, but I have to walk through that. I studied every time. I make sure that. So it's more of like I can tell you, it's determination. When you're determined that this is what you want to achieve, everything is possible. It's just a matter of spending time.
Yeah, you got to sacrifice something to get it, right? And you, from what you said, you had to actually do a little bit more to get.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the toughest as a teenager. Then the toughest, like when you're looking at your peer group, your friends, then going to video hall to play video games, or hanging out, going to club and all those stuff, and you're locked up studying. It's the biggest thing, but it's a sacrifice that worth it.
Yeah.
You have to discipline yourself. So those are the things that not that mostly when you're living with your dad and your dad go back home over the weekend, you have the entire house, you're living with big cousins, so you're exposed to do anything you want to do. So I have that opportunity if I want to be bad, if I want to go partying, but I chose not to do that.
Academic excellence, right?
Yeah. So it's more of determination. That's why I always tell people, like, some people will like, how will I move? How will I push myself away from doing all this party stuff, doing all this teenager stuff, and focus on school? How can I achieve that? But I tell you, it's more of like your mindset, though. It's not about someone coaching you, telling you to do it. It's different. Someone can tell you something, but if you're not determined, if your mindset is not already set for it, you will not achieve it. I know they used to call me professor when I was in UST.
Yeah.
Because they always believe
I heard those news.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So sometimes I see people, my friends, colleagues who call me professor. How will I study like you? How will I get good grade like you, right? But I know, like, you all go back to how all the sacrifice I did when I was little. But again, even I didn't stop there, because it can flip. If you stop studying, you reduce your this thing.
You maintain the discipline.
Yeah. So you have to maintain it. Just like soccer players, right? So when you stop training, you become you become
like all of us.
Yeah. So you become ordinary. So there's always that fuel you need to keep adding, keep pumping your fuel. Don't allow it to quench, right? You always keep fueling yourself, to grow more, to learn more. So that was what I did. Just like what I said, right? My middle school, secondary school, junior secondary, I screwed up where I let myself down. I went to the village, right? Mm-hmm. But since then, that was the mistake I realized I did. But since then, I know that it requires effort. You need to put in effort to achieve your goal, right? Yeah. So that was the effort. I put those effort, and at the end, it worked out well. I became the best graduating student, and on that day, so usually for the awards ceremony, it used to be the following year. By then,
after you
graduate, so it have to be the following year. So that day, I had interview for a scholarship, so I couldn't make it.
I will say the story for that one. So then
I sent my twin brother Promise to go and pick my award for me, because we look identical, right? It's hard to differentiate us.
Guys, this is where I step in. This is where I step in and say the story of how twin can actually cause confusion. So basically, when you sent your twin brother to come for the graduating, so I was, I think that was when I was in our final year and stuff. So usually, best graduating, everybody's excited, and we're like, "Who is the person?" They're like, "It's Gift," and we're like, great. Then suddenly, Gift walked in. Guys, there's nothing you would tell me. Gift walked in. Promise, I now know. But Gift walked in. Her Gift sat down. And all the other students, you already know your senior in school. You're like, Gift. Nothing.
Yeah.
Gift did not say anything. I'm still calling him Gift. Gift did not say anything, even though now we know who it was. It was a whole thing. Other students were all trying to come to talk to teachers. His twin brother did not even pretend like he knew us. It's like, I don't know you guys. I just came here to take the award. Once he was called on stage, he walked up to the stage. It's now I'm finding that it was a twin swap. Basically, that's what happened. That's why he didn't know any of us.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting story.
It's very interesting. And so I believe that's the only time we did that, to confuse people, but
that was intentional.
It worked out very well, because they gave him the award.
They did.
Which is very great. He received all the glory.
We shouted. Everybody clapped, but it was for Gift, but Promise took it.
Yeah. So that's the end of the episode for me in secondary school, right? That I moved on to my university. I actually studied a little bit in University of Science and Technology, UST, in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. But before then, there's a short story there. So I was determined because I did well in my electronics class. So I wanted to be electrical electronic engineer.
Elect.
Then I applied to get into that program in a different school that is not UST. So I went and I wrote the exam. I waited. The result came out. I went and checked for the result. And guess what? I was like, you go to a computer center, then someone at the desk there, the front desk, will print the result and show you.
So people didn't buy 1 hour.
No. I just queued up. Then, as the best graduating student, I was like, when they hear about my score, they will feel it. People were, because it was about 100%. We were talking about percentage.
Yeah.
So some people will get like 56% admitted, some 40% not admitted, 60 admitted. I was like, when they see 80 or 90, they will know that
this one somebody else.
The best graduating student is here. And when my turn reached, I was the smallest kid then. So tiny too. I gave them my credentials. They checked. 6% not admitted. Then someone hit me on the head. This kid, what are you finding in the university? Come get away. I was like, 6%
out of 100.
Out of 100, that was my score. 6%. I was like, how on earth that happened? So I didn't get admission to my elect, but
so that would be like your first choice.
That's what was my first choice. I have to chase after my second choice, so which is UST, and I chose petrochemical engineering, and I got in. And guess what? In UST, I had 76. While others were having, because the cutoff for UST was very low, because it's a second choice, although but their cutoff was very low, was around 40. But I had 76 admitted. Then I was questioning myself, what happened in the other school, which is Futo? Yeah. So in Nigeria, anything can happen. So
we still don't know till today.
It's a mystery to me up till now. But anyways, I knew, but it changed my course of life because I wanted to do electrical engineering. So it's one of those things that someone can actually change your destiny. Where who knows what happened in the office? But anyway,
who knows whose result they give to you?
Exactly. Because there is no way, even though I'm sleeping, you wake me up. Even though I didn't study, there is no way I will get 6%. Not even 20%. 6%.
I agree with you. There is no way.
Because the question is 400 questions.
Yeah.
I had 24. 24. That was the score. That's why if you see, I didn't. That's why I still remember these numbers.
No, you didn't know that you actually put it like that.
Yeah, it was 400 questions, 24. And that's the one I got correct. 24 answers.
Even though it wasn't your result, whose result is?
It's one of those things that if you're looking to be the best, they will flip the thing, So that's how they flipped it. So yeah, man, that result was crazy.
No, but what you're saying is that whatever that happened there now switched you to petrochemical.
Yeah, and it changed the course of my life because all I wanted was electrical, right? Yeah. And while I was in US, I wasn't feeling that happy because it's not what I really want to do. I know everyone wants to do petrochemical engineering in Nigeria because of the oil and gas Nigeria has. But I know that me from a common, not from a rich family, I don't have that connection after school. So while in school, I was scared that if I finish, even though I finish with best result, I can't get in because I've seen friends from Diob that did well. From Port Harcourt, the poorer area of Port Harcourt, that did well in school, but they still end up selling in business. They
get into the oil and gas industry, selling kerosene. And
gas. So you can't really get in. You need connection to get a job. So I had that fear, and that's why I'm talking to whoever that is listening this now from Nigeria. There is one determination you have to set in mind. If you want to keep yourself to the next stage, always look out for opportunity. While I was in school, while I was in UST, I started looking out for opportunities. Scholarship can't pass me by. I go to a cafe, that is a cyber cafe. which is computer center, I always look for scholarships, overseas study scholarship, oil company sponsor scholarship, anything scholarship.
You don't want to hear
it won't pass my ear,
Yeah.
right? So I was looking at all those opportunities. So for those still in school, always look out for those opportunities. I can't tell you the number of scholarship I have when I was in UST.
I remember there were all those ExxonMobil, Shell scholarships.
I had ExxonMobil, I had Abamin scholarship.
Yeah.
So they were then. I had 2 scholarships to study abroad. I have the one of this River State scholarship,
the
RSSD, and I had the Russia-Nigeria agreement scholarship where Nigeria can trade in students to Russia to study in Russia.
Yeah.
Then the Russia in response, they will make that trade agreement. So
they didn't send us their students.
No, they, which is very funny. No, but
go ahead.
Yeah, so I had that scholarship too. So I had that too at the same time. So I was looking at for scholarship, right? So that's one thing you always want to look at for if you want to, they call it Japa. You want to Japa.
Japa is the new
not
trend,
only to Japa to change or find a better life, but if you want
knowledge, right?
Japa for knowledge, improve yourself so that you can impact others, you can share your knowledge to others. Unfortunately, that's something I always have back of my mind, that one day I should be able to help people in Nigeria, either in business wise or in knowledge wise. I don't mind going back being a professor in one of the university. That will be later on in my life.
I think you'll be great at it.
I'm
telling you. But
so I have that in the back of my head that what I will at least give back to my society where I was raised. So when you're thinking about living, it's not about living entirely. You always think about where you came from, how you can make it better. That's the reason why you left, right? So
you can
you always get knowledge and make it better, because if it's better, there's no way you consider living, right?
Yeah.
So that's how eventually that I made it to Canada from that scholarship. But why in UST I was just helping out, doing tutor, getting extra cash to be able to support me. Then my father, I literally told my father to give me what they call it, pocket money allowance, because it was kind of like embarrassing. Guess what? What is my allowance? 4,000 naira every time. What would that one lead me? They can't even do pot of soup for like 1 or 2 weeks, right?
Do you know what is interesting?
Don't bother giving me that money.
While you were in UST, you do know that there were a lot of students from Uniport that knew you.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, but I know my names go a long way because of
there were students that knew you, that on special occasions, we shall not name what those special occasions are. They will be like, we need to call on all the way from UST.
Yeah, I know. I know. Well, it just showed how good I was in then. Exam wasn't it wasn't a scary thing to me. It was it's a norm. That how I considered it, right? So getting to write the exam for scholarship to bring me to Canada, that day I didn't even study because I know it was one of those things that I can walk in and.
Was it the one at UST?
Yeah, the one at UST. So something that I went in.
Another exam.
Another exam is one of those common entrance exams that I do.
I think the thing then that was a problem was if you were at UST. There was a point where the scholarship didn't allow UST students.
It's true.
Yeah. Before we switch to what you have done over the time that you're here in Canada, I'm just going to go back to a couple of things that you said. There are two things that I would like to just touch on, and then we're going to get into your journey in Canada as well. The first part is the impact of your father on your life.
Yes.
I wanted to hear a little bit about that. And you said that it meant a lot the way he kind of maneuvered and took interest in you and your brother. Like, when you want to put it in your own words and in terms of the experiences, and a lot of all those impacts was before you came to Canada, because you barely have been home a lot since then, like in terms of hands-on stuff, right? what would you say is the impact and the things that you remember the most about how he impacted your life?
Yeah, well, I'm a dad,
Okay.
so I can tell you, right? So, I've learned a lot from my dad, like how he treated us, right? So, he first of all is to identify your kid's strength and weakness, right?
Okay.
So, and for you to achieve that as a parent, you need to observe them. You know them better because they stay with you. So you know them better than an outsider, than their teacher, right?
I
Than
think
their
you
pastor.
might even know them better than they know themselves. I
Yeah.
always make that argument.
No, obviously, because you're the one observing, right?
Yeah.
Like whenever I look at my son, I observe him here and there when he makes some movement. Like then when I see that he noticed doing maybe like it's just 1 year trying to like talk, then when I see a vowel that he make, I repeat it, and then I watch him. He's gonna repeat
Try
it.
to repeat it.
So that's how like okay, he's trying to learn this vowel, right?
Yeah.
So because you're observing him. So yeah, my dad observed us. So that's one thing about parents. Like any parent that is observant mostly on their kid, not the ones that go about their business, never want to watch about their kid or notice what they do. That is one thing. When you observe your kid, you know their strength and your weakness. Then now it's left for you to put more effort now. Do you want them to work on their weakness to improve their weakness to turn to strength?
Yeah.
Or do you want to make their strength to be stronger?
So
it's two ways.
That's a very interesting topic. And just hold on to that, your thoughts. I think it's a very interesting thing because I see some people when they are strong at something, because it gives them a lot of value, they're very excited. All they want to do is to amplify that.
Yeah.
And what happens is other areas of their lives, they keep getting weaker and they don't even realize it because they only just want to go do what they are good at and amplify it. Or the other situation that you might be strong at something, you don't become the best at what you're strong at because you put time in trying not to be as weak in other areas. So it's a very
it's a tricky one.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
Yeah, balancing both is hard too, right? Because at the end of the day, it might end up being average strength, average improving weakness. But so it's a tricky one. But whichever way that you take is never wrong, honestly. Yeah. Because anyhow, the best is to get the best strength. If you're going on strength, or turn the weakness to strength, that way the person will be a strong overall human being, right? So you have to choose, right? So when he observes us, he notice our weakness. Those time I was saying about our primary school, then he knows that there's something behind us upstairs. He knows that we are smart kid. But he knows that we play a lot. We're not in good environment.
And
so those are the
tools required to get that kind of school you need to be
exactly.
At. Like
so those are the weaknesses that he sees, right? So he want to get rid of that and focus on our strength. So that's why he took us, giving us extra lessons. Then now, saying that, my dad played a good role with that, working on my strength and working on our strength. But here's the thing. Dad can, as I said before, he can always provide everything to someone, but it's left for the person to make use of it, right? Yeah. So we play a good part on it, knowing that he did his best, or he tried.
Set up a good foundation.
Yeah, so we actually help ourselves to make sure that we not only disappointing, we don't disappoint ourselves too, right? So that role of giving us our strength, amplifying our strength, helped. Then now, financially, it's a tough one for parents, right? So in situation, parents always wanna provide all resources for their kids, right? So financially, it's tough for parents who are struggling, right? So for him to sacrifice his own thing. My dad used to tell us that sometimes he would look at us like, the money I used to pay your school fees, I could have just been somewhere at the beach side drinking, or taking some fresh air. But look at what I'm doing. I'm trying to sacrifice all those time, sacrifice all those enjoyment, all those things I'm supposed to do just to make sure that my kids get the good opportunity or get all the resources they need to succeed, right? So that I give it to him too. He could have done that. He could have chose to take that path to treat himself, enjoy his life.
He has a choice.
He had that choice. So, but he kind of like determined, like, my children's success comes first, right? So this is the third thing that I mentioned, right? Handling your financial, right?
Handling financials, identifying strengths and weakness, and
observing. So those are the three focus areas that he has done very well. That I was like, yeah, he did a lot. Then now, I mean, he's enjoying his fruit of his labor, right?
Oh yeah. He should, and he deserves.
He has 4 kids now overseas, doing well, right? So, according to him, whenever I call him every weekend, he tells me how people come in to visit him. Not like because he's retired, not that he has the money, just because they know that people, he has
assets.
He has kids overseas doing well, right? So there's those things that he's enjoying, those friends benefit, and anywhere you want to go, you can always call on us, and you give it to him and provide that opportunity for him to go.
I call that a lot of times delayed gratification, right?
Yeah.
And it's very difficult for a lot of people. As I said, he could have chose to use his finances on himself, right? And so people always ask themselves, would there be a benefit at the end? But it's always great when a good stuff like that works out in general, or situations like that. So I think that's also interesting in terms of that. You got any other thing?
No, I mean
those three.
Those are the three, because what he calls it is human investment. That's what my dad considered. And one thing is, it's not like you will have my dad notice all these things. Why he has all these criteria? Him to gone through hardship, right, to get where he is. So he want to improve our own life, right? So it's one of those things that if, as a dad or a parent, if you have gone something, you always you don't want your kids to go through the same thing. It's just
you want a better life.
It's a parent's instinct, right?
You love somebody, you want a better life. So
those are the things that kind of like inspire him. Like, no, I want to invest on my kids because they're gonna change and they're gonna improve, make my name, or make him a better person, right? Make him a known person in the community, things like that.
And also be proud of your kids and what you have invested in them, right? And stuff like that. Oh no, that's great. The other one that I wanted to talk about, that you mentioned before we get on to the other part, is you mentioned your ability to teach. Right? I just wanted to find out, before I ask a question related to that, but just to get an idea of that. Or do you attribute your teaching skill? Because I don't just look at your skill as just having the knowledge. You actually have a real skill of actually impacting it and teaching what you know, right? Does that go back to all these times that you went back in teaching people and these things you learned by learning how to deal with people individually when actually trying to explain something to them? Would that be something you take that back to?
No, totally. Those because teaching comes with experience, though. How handling human like other people is challenging because everyone has their own lifestyle. So you don't know how you can approach the person. So it comes with experience. Maybe you have taught someone that doesn't have no clue about a particular topic. How do you approach that kind of person, or someone that have basic knowledge but needed just a little bit of a tip to continue, right? So how do you handle that kind of situation? So all those comes with experience. If you have had that experience in the past with different people, to be easier moving on whenever you meet the next person, right? So it all counts into that. My teaching ability comes way back in probably my secondary school. I know because I studied a lot, right? But not even my secondary, I would say the primary school where I had that extra tutor. The way the person passed the knowledge, actually, I always have that inspiration from the help of that tutor. because I was imagining how did that person able to learn to even pass it to us.
knowledge to you,
So the way he passed that knowledge, kind of like I was like, okay, I think I understand the step, because what he does is to read your body language first of all. Obviously, right? You understand. You try to understand where the person is missing, the gap the person is missing.
in their knowledge.
Yeah, because it does not make sense to start a particular point that you know and not knowing that the person didn't even know what you're talking about, right? So you have to first of all understand the gap and start with the gap. So all those things is something that I've learned from that when I was in that primary school. How that guy was passing down knowledge. He was always watching about the gap. What are we missing? What are we not understanding? He focused on that. So that kind of learning, I adopted that. Then when I went to secondary school, right, then I started helping other students because I went extra reading. And the way learning, I'll come back to learning because there's a different skill of learning too, right? Not everyone will kind of like open book and read. Some people will open book and sleep off.
Yeah.
Some people will add fun to reading.
They need to make it fun to be able to understand it.
Able
Maybe
to
pictures
understand pictures or card to write things down to keep them in memory. So the different skill of learning, but I understand. I had my own approach. Then I was like, okay, this approach worked for me. I can see my results. They are coming out fine. So if I'm teaching someone, I have to teach the person the way I learn.
Yep.
Right. So those are the things. So I gathered all those knowledge. So those kind of things were the skills that I gathered, then it becomes better and better as I
keep passing
it to other people, right? Keep teaching, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, when I kind of hear the story and how you've gone back, it kind of makes sense how you're able to navigate, switch around, teach different people in different ways, come up with new methods outside of what a textbook or what the professor is saying to actually kind of break it down to what the person can understand or relate to, right? So that actually kind of makes a lot of sense when I think about that in general.
Yeah, I can tell you other skills of teaching that helped me.
I want to hear that. Yeah.
Obviously, patience is very essential because patience comes with times. Some people get frustrated. Some people who are teaching get frustrated when people don't get it. It might be a simple thing that you were like, this simple thing, why you don't get this thing? You repeat it again.
Oh yeah, because you it's easy stuff.
Easy stuff, right? So is that patient? Being patient with the person you're teaching, the Nella, just be patient with the person. Then if you try one approach and the person don't get it, change your approach.
Okay, come from a different angle.
Come from a different angle. That's come where if there's a question, right? You first of all ask the person to tell you how the person understand the question. Because some people understand question differently, and with the way they understand that, how they'll give you an answer, right? So knowing the question will help you providing the answer, whether it's mathematics or it's any other this thing, what problem. But you have to understand the problem first, right? The question. So
you want to understand how the learner has received the question. Because I think that was an interesting thing for me. When we came into Canada newly, I found that I didn't understand some of the way the professors worded questions. I'll give a very popular example. In a question, they will put something like a puck.
Yeah.
I didn't know what hockey was or what a puck is. So at the beginning of the whole question, I don't even know what you're asking me because I can't tell the shape of the puck, for example.
Exactly.
Right? So at that point, there's a disconnect between the person asking the question and you that is receiving it, because I don't know what a puck is, but you're asking me for the shape and stuff, something like that. Yeah.
In academics, sometimes questions some questions might not be clear. It all depends on the teacher, right? Some teachers are not very they can't really cannot explain themselves or just explain what the question is or ask the question very well for the student to understand. So, but some questions might be confusing to students, even though they might be easier for other students. But here go back, like when you're teaching, you always start with the problem, right? See if the person get it. Sometimes when they get the problem, they can give you an answer. But it's understanding the problem,
yeah.
that where the problem, that where the issue comes first. But how I navigate that after asking the person, obviously the person might not, some of them might not know what the problem is, what the question is all about, right? So now, here is the thing. Because the person don't know the question or the problem, I can't give the answer. I can't start solving the problem or providing answer to the problem. I switch. I leave that topic. I find something similar that is simpler. Then I start moving step by step to get to that question. Breaking the question down in a different example. You have to teach the person the problem first. Understand the problem before solving the answer. I always have that, even because in exams.
So that would be your second skill for teaching. Is one is patience. The other one is making sure the person learning understands the question.
Exactly.
Okay.
You always start there. Don't just go into the answer.
Assuming that the person actually understands the question itself.
Yeah, exactly. And now, then the third one, is third or fourth?
The third one now
is the ability to change your skills, though, because some people are very specific in their skill. I know this.
So is it change your skill or change your approach?
Change your approach. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Changing your approach in teaching. Sometimes your approach might not be very, because some students learn differently, right? So some approach might not work for some students. Some might work. I know very well. One of our professor in the university in Nigeria, UST, Professor Amade, we call him because he's a mathematics professor. This guy, we ask a question that I believe, but I don't know, but we all believe that he might not be able to give you the answer. He go in to prove that he's the best professor. He said
giving the hardest question.
Things like that. To me, if you're giving the hardest question, then when you're teaching, you have to be teaching the hardest things.
Because you're teaching people. I also saw that a lot where you teach examples and it's very basic. For example, AX plus B. Yeah. And then when you add exponent and you add integer. And I'm like,
what's going
on?
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing that changing your approach of teaching. Like, it helps a lot. It improves students, mostly the ones that are not getting it at first time, right? Yeah. So that is one thing that comes in when you're teaching.
So I'm just gonna recap. So one is patience, the other one is making sure the person learning understands the question, and the third one is actually changing your approach towards actually teaching it.
Yeah, and you can consider it like every question has a different approach, but you have to, as a teacher, you have to adapt or have the ability to be changing approach depending on the question, depending on the environment. And one other factor or one other skills that you have to learn is you being observant, trying to understand the body language of the person you're teaching. Yeah. Right? So, and that I kind of had that once that I applied it. There was a time that I remember we were learning. There was a lab. In one of the lab room. There was Professor Mary Kay in UMB. Yeah. So there was a time.
No, that was not controls.
Was it control? No, but I know there was a time that I had to bring the board, and there's a topic that you wanted to get in to have clear understanding, right? I know that when I remember going through that, it was something like a math problem. I remember going through that answer or solving that problem very quick. Then I looked at you. You still have questions. You were trying to, I was like, okay, now I should have mistake I did. I could have take a pause. Look.
I know how you're getting there.
Yeah, because for you, you might think like,
where did we get all these numbers?
Yeah, things like that, right? So having that body language, taking a pause in between teaching and observing, just look directly to your student, see how they are responding, right? Sometimes you can flip in question from what you have done already. See if they can give you the right answer. If they don't give you, then they're not getting it. Go back all over again.
So you just talked about the skills necessary, right, for the person that is actually teaching, like what you would do. You've obviously been in situations that you also had to learn, right?
Yeah.
Either from someone or from a book or something. So what would you consider the responsibility or the expectations for someone that wants to learn something, whether from somebody or the attitude or approach they need to take?
Well, for you to even work, you have to be determination, right? That work comes first before learning.
Yeah. Okay, so when you say be determined, you're talking about the person should be self-motivated to want to learn.
Yes, have that mindset already ready, like open your mind that, okay, I need to get something. Then once that energy comes in, like that determination is set, like I have to learn something. Then for me, and I believe it work for every other approach or every other person, you set a goal, right? So what do you want to learn?
Okay, right? So what do you want to learn? Identify exactly what you want to learn, the end goal of what you want to learn.
Yeah,
and what.
Okay. Yeah, because I know a situation where in school they will ask you cover chapter 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
Right? But at the end, like, I know they will ask you question, but when you want to read those pages, you have to set a goal, like, okay, what am I reading these pages for? Then at the end of the day, you have to say, okay, what do I learn? Then that is the goal you're trying to repeat. So at the end of every study, you have to self-examine yourself.
That what did I actually
learn today? So those goals. So if you can't say anything, if you can't say
that I learned something,
then that was actually a waste of time, or you actually didn't learn because probably you might have been distracted by other things. Yeah. So setting that goal comes in as a learner too.
So one, you gotta be motivated to learn. So it has to be something you want to learn.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to actually learn. The second part is actually setting a target for what you want to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Then now is what gives you joy in learning, because like here's the thing though, sometimes we feel pressured, like we feel stressed out that we are learning things that we don't actually like or enjoy,
or we don't need. I think I had a feeling like sometimes I was learning something that I don't need,
exactly,
or that I don't want to know,
or
like,
they're not relevant, right? Things like that. I remember where they will ask me as an engineering student to go and learn philosophy. I was like, come on, man. Like, philosophy, what is it? What am I going to apply that in my engineering study, right? I mean, like, so things like that. But here's the thing though, I know that joy, because I don't have that determination, like, oh, I don't enjoy philosophy, reading about history of things. That thing that morale will be low studying it or getting good grade out of it. That's why I was like, I have to set a goal of enjoying.
But is it possible? Because I think
it's not possible though.
There's something to some people just enjoy having good grade. So what now happens is, if you enjoy having good grade, do you now learn when nobody is grading you? Because I actually thought about it, because
that's a good question.
That's a good point, because you just said that thing about setting motivation. Because for me, I'm like, because there's a stage in like school, in my own experience, that I didn't, for me personally, I didn't care about getting the A anymore.
Yeah, I know it.
Like I didn't care about getting the A anymore. So it wasn't like a target for me, and it was all about the grade. So you now ask yourself, when you leave school, for someone like that, if you were motivated only by maybe the grade made you happy, right? Now, do you learn other things in life that you're not being graded on? Because that might be what you're enjoying.
Yeah.
And then you have some students, that maybe art students or whatever, that don't care about grade, but I want to do what I love. I want to paint. Maybe I want to draw. I want to sing. I want to do this. And they are motivated by learning, not for the grade, but because they learned something that they like. And I think it's a struggle in education that also happens, right?
No, totally. Yeah, you make a good point. Honestly, make a good point. And I like that point that you made. Like, for those, like, I probably one of them where, like, I kind of like
enjoy having good grades.
Enjoy having good grades. They actually study.
Wait, I want to say this when we're talking about these grades.
Yeah.
Is this a real thing? We have a friend like that had like an A+ in a math course and got 99 and went to meet the professor that he needed 100. Do you know anything about that?
No.
Mr. Coy?
Yeah.
No, shout out to you, Mr. Coy. I remember hearing that. I'm just putting that out there. Because the thing is, it wasn't really about the grade anymore because you have the highest, but you just want to get everything right?
Yeah.
But that was interesting. Just go ahead.
It's something Coy can do, obviously.
I think it's possible. I don't know for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think those are the skills,
the three main things
or attributes that you have to watch out for if you're learning as a student or a learner. For my own part, obviously what motivated me to be very serious in study, learning, and also helping out also in teaching. But like learning in aspect, what motivated me is more of like just want to get good grade.
Yeah.
I believe one principle I had was good grade open doors, give you more opportunity. When I mean open doors, give you more opportunity.
People look at you and be like, you know what you're saying.
Yeah,
right?
And you never know. Once you finish in school, you might. This is topic for another day, but I know that sometimes we think that the smart kids, like the ones that are smart in school, book smart, when they get out of the school, they are actually nothing. They're actually empty though. So book that is different. That is different there when it comes to like book smart, having grade, than actually being self-intelligent. When I mean self-intelligent is like it's not only about school, not about grade. It's not about that. If you go outside the school, are you smart? What else can you do? Like the skills that I'll give you an example. For engineering, we have this structural engineering where you learn beams, how to set up all
statics.
Yeah, exactly, right? So you learn those, you know the equation, you know the math and all those things, you put them together, you plug them together, and you know those things, you can give the answer to teacher. You set the beam, you say what is the torque and all those things. You can always analyze it based on school theory, you can give and get. But when you go outside, say you're working with your parent, or your dad, or you're working with someone, and you guys are building up a stuff.
Just setting maybe a balcony or something.
A balcony or something. If you're not self-intelligent, you won't actually be able to do it. You would think, because school thing now will be hard for you to apply it, because like it's more of like you learning beyond the theory.
Yeah.
Learning beyond that, actually understanding it beyond passing.
Yeah.
That was the point I'm trying to make.
And what you said, and that's why I brought up the point, because once you said that, it kind of clicked in my head that some people learn, like when you talked about setting a target and goal.
Yeah.
I for a lot of courses I did on campus, right? The target and goal was the grade. Mm-hmm. So there are so many courses that I wasn't learning specifically because I enjoyed the course or wanted to learn it specifically. So those courses, literally, if you ask me anything about those courses now, I've gotten the grade and I'm gone.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you get into the courses that you actually like, right? Mm-hmm. That you're not learning it specifically for the grade, you can go back to the little things that you were learning, that you were approaching, because the goal is kind of important. The goal is only for grade, because I think one thing you were also doing is not just the grade. You wanted to retain the knowledge to teach.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so yours wasn't really just for grade.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking about that when you do it only for the grade, when the grade is no longer there, what happens to the knowledge? Because your motivation is very important to really what drove you to do it. So there's a lot of people that actually go to school and whatever, they are doing it for the grade. And that's why I brought the question.
Yeah.
When they're no longer in school, are they still learning life now that nobody's grading them?
They struggle.
It's a struggle.
Things like people like that struggle because like even getting opportunity in jobs, they can't actually do the job very well. Because now it go beyond school. because no one like
no one is telling you what to do.
What to do? Result, give me results. No. It's like
you're your own.
Do this, right? So those people struggle outside life, right?
Yeah.
So it's a hard. So one thing is when you set your goal as learning, go beyond passing.
That's
the conclusion to that.
That question. Yeah. So I think that kind of puts a good wrap to it, because it really got me thinking in that sense that we approach learning really different. A lot of times, a lot of people approach learning sometimes just for a specific problem to be solved, instead of approaching learning that everything you learn can actually just expand your knowledge and stuff like that. So that kind of puts a wrap to it. we're gonna stop here for now. We're gonna still be having this conversation. I really enjoyed this, but as something I'm trying to start as a little tradition, I'm gonna be asking you a random question.
Okay.
So what I wanted to ask, so this is an interesting question, but I'm going to use the negative parts to it instead of the positive parts to the question.
This question, I know you're a sports guy. You have been building this question.
I like to create the tension.
Teasing it.
I like to create. I like to create the tension a little bit. So you're a sports guy, you're a soccer guy, right? So there are two scenarios, right? You have to pick one. This is how your team loses a game. So one, your team loses in the final second of the game. You have to pick one that you would rather live with than the other, or your team gets demolished right from the beginning to the end. So we can use any sport, but we'll use soccer as an example. So let's say Champions League final, or no, I will use a very painful one. Nigeria in the World Cup. Nigeria in the World Cup. We're in the finals of the World Cup. And there are only two ways that we can lose the final.
Hopefully, I'll be alive to see. I'll be alive to see when Nigeria make it to final.
I would love to be alive to see this. But let's say Nigeria is in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Maybe this is me speaking, not really, but this is me. Like Nigeria is in the World Cup. Dream scenario, I'll be alive to see this. Nigeria is in the World Cup final, but there are only two ways to lose the game. Either they lose at the last minute of the game, by heartbreaking after putting on a great performance, they lose at the last second of the game, or they lose the game embarrassingly by like 8-0. In your opinion, which one can you live with more, and which one would not give you nightmares? Which one will give you light nightmares the least among those scenarios? So it's like two heartbreaking situations. For one, you got completely dominated and embarrassed. But the other one, you were super close, excited. It was almost there to like the victory, but it got taken off your hands.
Well, actually, this question is tricky. It's a tricky one, and it's very interesting.
It's supposed to be. Lose.
See which
one we.
But I can't bear humiliation, honestly. Okay. You know, when I tell you all these stories, you know how I felt about it. So 8-0 is a lot. So much when you're well beaten is like very embarrassing. Yeah. So here's the thing, I would rather go for the one or die minute, like the late go.
Yeah.
The reason why is in future when we are discussing it, when you're talking about it, bad this thing, all bad emotional, those flashbacks.
Yeah, those flashbacks.
Yeah. Someone can raise the topic and laugh, make fun about it. Yeah. That will be still pain. It will pain you as if it was just
which one will pain more?
Yeah.
When they make fun about it that you were so close, and then maybe your goalkeeper scored own goal last minute. Or the one that the person will be like, you guys are just destroyed you guys.
That I'm saying, the one that will be painful more will be the
humiliating
one. To me, because like it's something like whenever people talk about it or you raise topic about it, you're like, come on, go and see that you're the one that they
trashed.
Then this one, like, we actually tried, was just an error or it was just a mistake. That one have a defensive argument.
The way you can defend yourself and sleep at night and
so
be like, we're close.
You can always, pump yourself at the back or, like be happy about it, you're close. But the one of you're not close, you're trashed.
So people will say, like, at least like from the beginning of the game, I had no chance.
They can actually analyze it bit by bit, and it will be painful as if you just rewatch it again. So that is zero, I will never go for it. When you're being trashy, it's hard to bear.
I think both of them are bad situations.
Yeah, I remember.
I just wanted the real reason I was asking the question is the why.
Yeah.
And you're saying it's about the humiliation of being completely dominated than having a chance. I would say
I can tell you I'll give you an example. When Man City, Man U
6-0.
6-0 and Man City, I'm a Man U fan. So Man City and Man U final that ended 2-1, right? This FA Cup final. When people talk about FA Cup final, people don't emphasize too much. Like Man U try, even though the chance was that Man City will win. But when they talk about the 6-0, we fans who don't have any explanation, we still feel bad about it.
But
we can't really defend ourselves.
I don't want to give that example. Let me use a Chelsea fans example.
Yeah.
When John Terry missed the penalty.
I think
that one is still cool. So you want to think of the nightmare.
Yeah.
The nightmare of when John Terry missed the penalty compared to 6-0. Do you think Chelsea fans has Chelsea been beaten badly recently? Because I think that still hurts a lot.
Yeah, but here's the thing. In John Terry case, is the situation when it happened, right?
Yeah, that's why I said the last second you were so close.
It's different. It's different. It's different because it's different tournament, right?
Yeah.
So if it's like normal, if it's like a normal tournament, like a normal league, for example, and you guys are playing 0-0, or play the last minute you lose. Is the same and comparing the same. If you're comparing the same tournament,
the initial question would be the same tournament knockout. That's why I used World Cup final. That's why when I said it, I used World Cup final because I wanted to say the same tournament, right? It's like a one knockout game, and it's similar to that painful. You were so close. There's something bad happened,
it will still be painful.
Both of them are painful.
They're not painful, but I will.
The humiliating would be bad, actually.
I will live. I can live with the. At least we give it a shot, but than that will get whipped. Because sometimes when you come across it, like YouTube highlight of it, you're gonna give you flashback, and
you will see the way the guys were running
will increase again. So whenever I watch that season about Man U, this thing is. Or Liverpool
just collecting.
Those ones, it sounds like if you're going back to Anfield again to play again, you give you that flashback. That fear comes back in. Then at least we tried. If that is the one of we tried and we lose, let's go. At least that one you can. It's not forgettable, but you can manage to live with it.
No, I understand what you mean. I just think both of them are painful, but I wanted to see the reason why. Yours is mainly the humiliation. I can see some people's reason being that man, I was so close.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But that's why I brought it up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was an incredible conversation. I enjoyed every bit of it. I learned a few things here, got to know a few things I didn't know before, but that's why we do this. Thank you so much. This is No Right, No Wrong. And to everyone listening, I appreciate all of you, and let's